I've talked about shame in many of my videos in the past, but this time I've got somewhere deeper to go with it. Stay tuned, watch this video. So one of the things I love talking about with my clients is how there is two totally different realities going on sometimes, where we feel a disconnect, where we understand all this stuff, but I'm still feeling pain, or I get all this, so why am I still attracting these patterns? And what I like to say, because it was me and I had to go through it, is you can understand everything in the world. You can read 1,000 self-help books. You can take 1,000,000 courses. But unless you do the work and have the experience of the healing, nothing will change. Not for long. And so what really started clicking with me about 8 years ago now was when I really started, and you'll see this in all my videos, to get real about how I feel so I can heal. And one of the biggest sort of blocks to that work is shame. I myself had a lot of shame. Shame says there's something wrong with me. It's the excuse we give ourselves when we're not getting our needs met as children. We make it about us, so we feel like we have some sense of control. If I change or I'm different, maybe I'll get this to work out for me. And it makes us feel less of a powerlessness. It's a false power, but we still feel powerless because we're powerless to get our needs met. And so we think, I'll have this false power called control, and then maybe I can control things into getting my needs met. And when we get older and we still have this coping mechanism, things don't go so well because we're constantly being controlled by that shame. There might be something wrong with me. If I change something or control something, maybe I can believe that there isn't, right? You know what I'm talking about. So shame is scary because it wants you to think it's so scary. It doesn't want you to look into it. But what I learned is by looking into shame, looking into that emotion, that pain that said, I'm still not getting my needs met. You know, what we like to do is we're not getting a need met, so we deflect, or we pretend this is the reason, or we create this reason, or we pretend it's not happening. And what I really learned to do was sit in the reality of what was happening now. And if you can do that right now, this is an amazing step. This is an amazing place to start. Look at what is happening right now. Not in the past, not in your childhood, not 10 years ago, but what is happening right now that doesn't feel good. And look at it. Wow, this is happening. This is why I feel this way. Bodhi. This is why I feel this way. What that does initially is says, what I feel makes sense. When we're kids and we feel what we feel and then we're still not getting our needs met, we think there's something wrong with how we feel. We shouldn't feel what we feel. I had a client earlier today and she was saying, yeah, I'm feeling this pain. Something triggered her that happened that she was very much in shock about why it would bother her so much. And the way that she dealt with it is she said, I shouldn't be feeling this right now. That was 6 years ago. I said, that's the first problem. You do feel like this right now, and let's talk about why that makes sense. When we feel something, we usually judge it or tell ourselves I shouldn't feel this because I'm over it or I get it or it has nothing to do with me anymore. But that's your mind. Your inner child, your heart, your wounded child still has something that needs to be acknowledged. And when we say I shouldn't feel this way, we are again not acknowledging ourselves, that part of ourselves that couldn't get her needs met or his needs met. So the first step in really starting to heal this is by saying, I feel this. This is interesting. I don't think I should feel this way because this thing was so long ago or this thing I thought I was over. But the truth is I do. I'm getting real about how I feel. I feel freaked out right now. And who cares why right now? But I feel freaked out. And I'm acknowledging that freak out feeling. And I'm acknowledging that this is scary to even feel this. And I want to see what it is that's making me feel this. What did I make this experience mean? Right? We hear that a lot, but it doesn't even mean like mentally. It means what did I mean it, make it feel like mean right here? And immediately for my client, she was like, wow, it's exactly what I felt with my mother. So it's not what happened, it's the meaning we've attached has not changed until we become conscious about what we feel. But we can't become conscious of what we feel if we're telling ourselves I shouldn't be feeling this right now, right? So get real about how you feel. Right now I'm feeling nuts. It feels scary. It feels awful. And I don't think that I should, but I do. So I'm going to honor this part of me that feels what she feels and doesn't need to be any different. And when you can feel what you feel and love yourself anyway, which is what you didn't get. Look at all these people trying to call me at this time. Which is what you didn't get at that time. When you felt what you felt and you weren't getting your needs met, it made you not trust what you feel. I'm not going to feel it. But what I want you to change right now is, I feel what I feel right now. And that's okay. And it makes sense. And I'm here. And everything's all right. And I'm going to survive. And what I get to do now is bring that feeling with me and upgrade it. Shame is telling you, don't go there. It's scary. It's not going to be what you like. You're not going to get your needs met again. People are going to look at you and be like, oh my gosh, he or she is bad. There's something wrong with them. That's shame. That's the false protector that we created when we were children to keep us out of harm's way, to not be so shiny, because then people will see us and they can criticize us, or not be, or be unenough, or whatever it is. And so what happens, it's windy outside, is that we get into this reality where I'm afraid to shine, and I'm also afraid to not exist. Because what shame tells you is you don't matter. What shame tells you is you don't want to really matter because there might be something wrong with you. What shame tells you is don't be vulnerable because that's weak and that's scary and that's where you get hurt. Because when we're children and we're nothing but loving and we don't get our needs met, we think we're not enough because our love didn't get what we needed. So shame says there might be something wrong with you because you just being loved didn't get your needs met. So I'm going to protect you from ever finding out who you really truly ever are. And what I want to tell you is by me sitting in my own version of shame is when I found who I really was, because I realized that it was just shame. It wasn't truth and it wasn't me. It was a part that was trying to protect me from ever finding out who I really was. And guess what? It's not a protection. It's actually a block. And when we can look at that wall, we can go through it. When we look at that feeling, we look at that pain, we look at that shame. And not as if it's us, but look at it as it's a child. How would you treat a child? It's time to upgrade that child. I was telling my client today, the way I like to do it is look at the pain and observe it. Like, oh my gosh, you're the part of me. You're that inner child that never got acknowledged. You're the part of me that just wants to be acknowledged. Sometimes that's why it's really loud and scary and says, excuse me. And you're like, please stop. I'm going to ignore you. It gets bigger. Like a kid, I did this in one of my other videos. It's like a kid who wants candy and you're ignoring it. And it's like, I want candy. And it gets louder and louder and louder. When you just say, I see that you want candy, but right now we have to do this. You're at least getting acknowledged and I'll deal with you tomorrow. Structured healing. Or let's talk in 5 minutes, or let's talk for 5 minutes, and then I have some work to do. Every time we give acknowledgement to that pain and create structure around it and say, you are a part of me, you are not me, you're not going to control me, because we don't let 8-year-olds control our lives, right? We help structure the 8-year-old to have a voice, but also have boundaries. We are reparenting that shame, that pain, so that it can integrate and feel one. It can feel seen, it can feel heard, and it can learn from the more conscious part of us. So shame, you guys. This video has been a little bit all over the place. There's wind, there's dogs, there's things. But the point is, when we look at the shame and don't let it control us or keep us from what we truly want, it tells us you don't deserve to belong. It tells us you don't deserve to fit in. It tells us you don't deserve what you truly want. The reality is, shame is just an idea that's trying to keep you safe. And what it's really doing is keeping you away from what you truly want. So we look at it, we put it in its place, and we heal back to oneness. I hope you liked that video. Please share and subscribe. Check the links below, and I'll see you next week. Namaste.